Well, good morning. It is time now to continue with some of these candidate profiles we've been airing. The order of the appearance and the time slots were all drawn by lot, and the drawing was recorded on video and is available with 24-hour notice. We're welcoming in studio a candidate for County Commissioner Position 3, Bill Hunker. Bill, welcome to the studios of KAJO. Glad to have you here. Why should we vote for Bill Hunker for County Commissioner?
Good morning, Chuck. Thank you. I'm a businessman, and I look at Josephine County as I would an $80 million company that is failing. Something different needs to be done. When a company is failing, I find it instructive to review their history and see how they got there. So I want to take a quick look back at how Josephine County became distressed. And then we can see what we can do to correct it. For 11 years, as you may know, from 1970 to 1980, there were 0 Josephine County property taxes, none. Mills were booming. In its heyday, there were about 40 mills in the county. But by 1990, the environmentalist voices began in earnest, and that started the spotted owl controversy, which migrated into the 1994 Northwest Forest Plan when timber harvests began to be curtailed. During all those years, from the 60s to the mid-90s, the county received receipts from cutting timber. For those 30-plus years, timber revenue fluctuated from a low of $2 million to a high of around $13.5 million per year. But through the 80s and the late 90s, more and more sawmills were closing. Families had to adjust, and they had to find other jobs and retrain, or they had to move to economically viable counties. However, every time a mill closed, the timber receipts still continued to arrive at the courthouse, keeping the county government funded. For those 30 years, the government did not have to dialogue with its citizens to fund county services, because regardless of the economy, Josephine County always had funding. Then in 2008, the recession hit the citizens hard, and they had to make major adjustments in their lives to stay afloat financially. And that scenario continued until 2011. That year, however, the county lost $4 million in secure rural schools funding, and the county panicked. The county felt that the citizens would understand their funding crisis in 2012 and decided to put a 4-year, $1.99 levy on the ballot. That May, it failed 57% to 43%. That failure was unexpected. Hoping to jar the public into the reality of the funding shortfall, 39 prisoners were let out of jail on May 30, 2012, and the public did take notice. And a new levy of $1.48 was sponsored for May of 2013, and it just barely failed at 51 to 49%. But the very next day, the infamous 911 call was released, and you'll remember that's the call on the woman in early morning who couldn't get a sheriff or Oregon State Police out. And that released call went nationwide, and it turned Josephine County into a, quote, lawless county. The problem was that 911 call was actually made 9 months earlier. It was intentionally held until the day the 2013 levy failed and then released to the press. Had the levy passed, that call would not have ever been released to the national press, and we would not be perceived today as a lawless Wild West county. In 2014 and 15, 2 more levies were tried, and they both failed. The 2015 levy cost advocates $118,000, and it failed by twice the margin of the 2014 levy. Each time levy supporters cried crime crisis, the citizens were less impressed. Crime crisis is now viewed in Josephine County as a fundraising slogan. Since the public has voted 9 safety levies down since 2000, one commissioner decided it was time to bypass the voters and go straight to the governor and force the public to accept state funds and relinquish control of Josephine's public safety. However, there was a catch to this plan. We had to have the governor declare that there was a public safety fiscal emergency. A public safety crisis we couldn't manage. This was easier said than done. There seemed to be no fixed numbers to determine what a crime crisis really was. So to solve that, the local Public Safety Coordinating Council, called LIPSC, voted that we were either in a public safety funding emergency right now or that one was imminent. But our 3 Salem advocates, Carl Wilson, Herman Bertschiger, and Dwayne Stark, counseled Lipsick not to go to the governor. They firmly believed that the people in the county can manage their affairs far better than Salem ever could. So, do we really have a crime crisis? There are 4 reasons I believe that a county crime crisis does not exist. Number 1, there are currently funds available to give to the Sheriff's Department, but the commissioners are not allocating those funds to solve that perceived crisis. In a real crisis, ethical leaders would use those funds. Number 2, Grants Pass City Council has public safety as their number 3 goal for 2015-16. Public safety is less important to the counselors than a park. Number 3, the Oregon Uniform Crime Statistics prepared by Oregon State Police do not support the premise that crime is at any kind of a crisis level. And 4, the 2015-2016 Josephine County budget just released this week is a status quo budget. There is no attempt to find or save additional monies for an imminent public safety fiscal emergency. However, I believe the sheriff does need additional funding. The department is underfunded. He does need additional revenue. But we know one solution that's off the table, and that is additional property taxes. The citizens have spoken clearly 9 times since 2000. So what can be done to chart a path to a different future? We do have options. First, we act like we have a crisis and begin to explore all possible solutions. We go through the discretionary portion of the budget line by line to find places where we can trim. And we prioritize all of our expenditures so they match the top-down priorities of the citizens, something that Carl Wilson had brought up. But additional options are we can allocate road funds for the Sheriff's Patrol. We can use economic development funds for the sheriff, like Jackson County does currently. We can increase the sustainable yield of our 30,000 acres of county timber. Douglas County has about 1/4 of the county timberlands that Josephine County does, and they sustainably produce about $750,000 per year in timber sales. We can review our county-owned properties and we can maximize their revenue. And we can review contracts and fees and memberships and cut the non-essential. And long-term, we absolutely must continue to fight for our O&C funds, not just for the county government monies, but for the jobs and the local economic growth that would create. Josephine County urgently needs jobs. So what can be done? We can streamline our permit process and cut fees for businesses desiring to move here. We can offer a temporary business personal property tax holiday to new companies, and we can create a business advocate package for those companies interested in locating in the county. And all county departments should be consciously supportive and welcoming and helpful to new companies. And that takes us to taxes. Regarding taxes, where do I stand? I will not support any new taxes during my term. Josephine County is a struggling county, and people cannot afford to pay more taxes. And that may mean cutting some services so that we can fund the ones that are the most important to the citizens. In closing, we cannot afford 4 more years of status quo, of business as usual. We do need new leadership. We need business people who can step up and turn around this failing $80 million company and make it responsive to the priorities of the owners, the citizens. Who do you actually want in charge of your county? People with real-world business experience who understand financial stewardship, or political bureaucrats who are addicted to spending your money and always wanting more? Do you want creative entrepreneurs who see our low tax rate as a unique advantage
for Bill.
Attracting businesses and promoting job growth? Or do you prefer doom and gloom peddlers who continuously want you to feel guilty for enjoying the lowest permanent tax rate in the state? It's not the good old days for the county anymore. We are either going to step up and make the necessary changes to have our county government live within its means, or we are slowly going to surrender what is left of our finances and our freedoms to bureaucrats. Your ballot is your choice. I'm Bill Hunker, and I invite you to visit my website for further information. It's billhunker.com.
Bill, you have about 15 seconds left if you just want to make one more plea.
Well, good morning, Grants Pass in Josephine County, and I hope you have a wonderful day today.
All right. Thank you very much, Bill Hunker. That's candidate for County Commissioner, Position 3.